All right. Good morning, everyone. And thank you so much for joining us today for an informational session on Department of Energy and Environment's newest program, the Lead Reduction Program. My name is Jennifer Johnston, and I have the pleasure of facilitating the webinar today. I'm an energy program specialist here at the Department of Energy and Environment. So today we're going to be providing an overview of the lead reduction program. We'll be discussing the eligibility requirements, and we'll finish up the presentation with discussing the application process. I'm going to be sharing a lot of information with you today. So if you have a question or a comment, please feel free to enter that into the Q&A section. We'll be addressing questions and comments after we go through the content, but if by chance we're unable to address your question during the webinar today, the team will follow up with you via email. I also want to note that we are recording this presentation and we'll be recording this presentation, and we will be posting this and have it available on our webpage. Exposure to lead can seriously harm a child's health, including damage to the brain and nervous system, slowed growth and development, learning and behavior problems, and hearing and speech problems. No safe blood lead level in children has been identified. Lead hazards in a child's environment must be identified and controlled or removed safely. Lead is invisible to the naked eye and has no smell. The Lead Reduction Program uses U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development funds to assist eligible households with lead hazard reduction activities. The primary purpose of the Lead Reduction Program is to maximize the number of children under the age of 6 years old protected from lead poisoning in the district. So I want to discuss what the funding covered under this program. So it's possible that a household may receive up to $11,000 in assistance per household. And this funding covers the lead inspection risk assessment. And this is when an auditor comes into your home to see if there are any lead hazards within the dwelling. The funding also covers determining the appropriate scope of work, as well as the lead-based paint remediation activities that need to take place. So there are 4 different routes for lead-based paint remediation. The first is enclosure, and this is when the lead paint is covered with a wall covering. And this is typically done on large surfaces, such as walls in hallways or dining rooms. The next is replacement. And this method involves completely removing the door, window, or molding that is covered in lead paint and replacing it with a new one. The third route is paint removal, and the name says exactly what it is. This method involves completely removing the lead paint. And the last is encapsulation. And this method not only covers, but also seals the affected area with a specific coating. So depending on the scope of work, which is determined by the lead inspection risk assessment, will determine on what activities are done within the home. So it's definitely going to be household specific. So some measures that may be addressed in addition to the lead-based paint hazard reduction, it could include roof repairs, water leaks, as well as flooring. I do want to note that we will be completing, the funding also covers a clearance test to make sure that the lead hazards have been addressed before re-entering the dwelling. All right, so there are 5 main phases of the program that I wanted to go over with you today. So the first phase is the application process. So an applicant will submit the full application to the Department of Energy and Environment, and our team will determine if the household is eligible. If the household is eligible, we'll enter into phase 2. And that is when we complete the lead inspection and risk assessment. Now, after the LIRA, if any lead-based hazards are discovered, then our team's going to work with our contractors and grantees to put together a scope of work. And that'll take us into phase 4. So once a scope of work has been compiled, where we will assign to a contractor to schedule and complete the work that needs to be done. I do want to note that depending on the level of work that needs to be done in the home, it may not be safe for the inhabitants to stay there while the work's being conducted. So it may be required that the inhabitants be temporarily relocated. I do want to note that this is kind of situational dependent, but DOEE may be able to provide support for that relocation. And phase 5, the final phase, will complete a lead clearance test prior to completing the program and getting the family back into the household. All right, so now you know a little bit about the program, but who's eligible? So the first bit of eligibility criteria revolves around the children within the household. So an applicant can have one of these 3 options. Okay, so first, a child under the age of 6 lives in the residence. Second, a child under the age of 6 is visiting for a significant amount of time. So that's 60 hours per year. So that can be a grandparent's house, aunts and uncles, in-laws. And a last option is if there is a pregnant woman residing in the home. So at least one of those 3 items include the eligibility requirements. So the next option for eligibility requirements is there are 2. So the first is the dwelling must have been built prior to 1978. And second, the household must be occupied by an income-eligible household. And this is very similar to DOEE's other programs that we offer. All right, so we discussed the eligibility requirements. Now let's talk about the income requirements. So in this table here are the 50% and 80% average median income requirements. I want to note that this information is also available on our webpage. So first I'm going to talk about the income requirements for single-family dwellings. Okay, so applicants that own their home must have an annual income below 80% average median income. And this is the same guidelines for families that also rent the household as well. So they must also be below 80% AMI. And that's that 3rd column here. Now, the eligibility for multifamily properties is dependent on the tenants for the entire building and is a bit more nuanced. So multiple family rental properties must meet one of the following requirements. So first, at least 50% of the units must have an income less than 50% AMI, so that's that 2nd column here, with the remaining units less than 80% AMI. And the second option is at most 20% of the units in the building may exceed 80% AMI. But of the remaining units, at least 50% of those units must have an income less than 50% AMI. So if you are a multifamily property owner and your building was built prior to 1978, and you're interested to know if your building may be eligible for this program, please feel free to reach out. You can call 202-236-2657. And this is going to put you in contact with Luanda Jones, the branch chief of the Energy Efficiency and Conservation Branch, as well as the program manager for this new program. All right, now on to how to apply. There are 2 different routes an applicant can go about in applying. The first is printing out the documents, and I'll be going through the documents shortly. is to send us via mail to Department of Energy and Environment, attention LaWanda Jones at 1200 First Street Northeast. You also have the option of sending all of the documents via email, and that can be sent again to our branch chief and program manager, lawanda.jones@dc.gov. Okay, so now on to what items are needed to put in an application. So the first is the lead reduction program application, and we have a screenshot of that here on this slide. The second is the employment verification form, and the third is the income affidavit form. And all of this is available on our website, and I'll of course be sharing that link with you before we end this webinar today. And then the two last items are only if they're applicable. Okay, so child support verification, and then a notarized statement of no bank account. And this is if the household does not have a checking or savings account. We're just going to need to have that statement notarized if that is the fact for the applicant. Okay, so some documents that need to be included with the application. So first is a copy of the birth certificate for all children under the age of 6. We're also going to need a copy of Social Security cards for all household members. Verification of income documentation for all members of the household 18 years or over. And lastly, verification of income documentation for all members of the household under the age of 17. And I want to note that for kids, only unearned income is counted. So child support, TANF, SSI. Okay, so these requirements are just for the applicants that own their home. So for homeowners, we're going to need a copy of the recorded property deed. We're also going to need a copy of the current liability and fire insurance, also known as homeowners insurance. And the last 4 bullets, these bullets are just for the households that have already completed the lead inspection risk assessment or have already got an assessment done on lead within their home. If that is the fact, we're going to want several documents just to help us get the process started. So documentation determining the presence of lead-based paint or lead hazards, copies of disclosures of lead-based paint, again, if applicable, copy of violation for lead or deteriorated paint, and lastly, photographs of the exterior street side elevations. All right, I know I just threw a lot of information at you. This is our newest program, but the good news is that we're here to answer questions today. And all of the information that I discussed, as well as with additional details, are available on our webpage. Please feel free to reach out to LaWanda Jones, the branch chief, as well as program manager. And we'll see if we can address those questions. So we have a few questions. Let's see here. Okay, so our first question in is, okay, for any undocumented renters, is there a substitute for Social Security cards? And we have our program manager on the line here. I'm going to unmute LaWanda.
Okay, hold on.
Okay, well, we are going to get back to that question. Okay, so I see that we're getting a lot of questions about Social Security cards, and we are going to get back to those. While we are, let's look at some other questions that we have here. So this question came from potentially, it looks like a property owner. Are there any property types excluded from this program? great question. And yes, there are 3 different type of properties that are excluded from the program, and that is Section 8 or public housing, properties that have not paid district or federal taxes, as well as properties with outstanding life safety housing violations. So thank you so much for that question. Okay, and we also have a question asking, are seniors eligible? So this program is primarily focused on children and children under the age of 6. But if the seniors do have a grandchild or a family member under the age of 6 that visits their household more than 60 hours per year, then they could be eligible. And I'm just going to check in back with LaWanda. Hey, LaWanda. Oh, sure. Okay, going on to some more questions. Great questions, everyone. Great questions. Oh, yes.
Can you hear me? I'm sorry.
Yes. Oh, you're totally good. You sound great. So our the questions that came in, we have a few regarding the Social Security cards. So the first question is, for undocumented renters, is there a substitute for Social Security cards?
The only substitute is sometimes they'll get a card that says only used for work, and it'll have a number similar to a Social Security number. We can use that.
Okay, super. Thanks, Wanda. And are families that do not have Social Security cards eligible for the program?
At this time, I mean, we need that, the option I just gave you, that,
Gotcha.
yeah. And it's similar to a Social Security card. It looks kind of just like it. It's just that it only can be used for working.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay, so we have another question that came in. Does the program help with lead in pipes?
No. Our lead pipe replacement assistance program does. They can go to our website, pull down an application to apply for that program. And that's managed by Brooke Siegel.
And there are actually 2 different programs. The program that DOEE runs is for partial lead pipe replacements. There's also DC Water has their own programs to deal with lead pipes that are fully, not just private side lead pipes.
Excellent, thank you. And another great question that we got is, will the program help coordinate with selecting contractors and the permit application process?
So the way the program works is we provide funding to sub-grantee, that's nonprofit organizations in the District of Columbia. They're charged with identifying subcontractors to do the work. However, the subcontractors must have the approved licensing credentials that are given by DOEE. And you can go to our website to see the list of DOEE approved contractors that can do the risk assessments, lead abatement, and clearance testing. If you are a contractor and you're interested in being a part of our program, you can reach out to our sub-grantees, and they will be listed on our website beginning on Monday, and you will contact them directly in reference to one of the contractor. So we don't
Oh, LaWanda, you're breaking up.
involve
Okay, so the answer is
the sub-grantee.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, so the answer to that question is yes. DOE will be will our sub-grantees and contractors will be helping facilitate the permitting process. Okay, and it looks like we got a question from a lead contractor. Can the lead contractor also perform the clearance dust wipes if their firm also contains the appropriate certifications?
No. So whoever does the clearance cannot do the work. It has to be a different contractor. So there's an initial contractor that does the lead inspection risk assessment. Then there's a secondary contractor that does the actual work that's identified based on the LERA. And then there's someone separate, different subcontractor that does the clearance.
Okay, thank you, Linda. And I do want to share this email address with everybody. We got a question earlier about lead pipes. And so if you have any questions on that program, I'm just going to drop in the leadline.replacement@bc.gov. So please feel free to reach out to that contact. And shout out to Brooke Siegel, the program manager for that. Thank you, Brooke. Okay, and then we have another question regarding the funding. Okay, so it says, how does the 11,000 cap per household change in multifamily properties?
So for multifamily properties, that's 11,000 per unit, not for the entire building.
Okay, great. Thank you, Cara. Okay, and I'm going through all great questions, everyone. Thank you so much. And we have a clearance specific question, which we may need to follow up with. And it's the gentleman is asking, which HUD lead dust clearance standards are used? For example, floors 40 UG square feet or lower than 10 UG square feet. We may need to follow up with you regarding that question. So the team will.
Jennifer, just let them know we can send him the specific guidelines that will give him that information, or he can feel free to go to EPA's website.
Okay, super. So I'm just going to put in the chat here. So for those specific testing questions, please feel free to reach out to us and we can point you in the right direction for all those details. Okay, next question. Does the grant pay for the DOE permit? A permit is required.
Yes, that is factored into the overall cost, the 11,000 per unit.
Okay, excellent. All right, so all wonderful questions. Thank you so much for this interesting conversation. I know it kind of feels like it's going one way, but we really appreciate it. I'm just gonna open up to the floor to any more questions, and then if not, we'll wrap up this presentation. So I'm just going to leave a few more seconds to see if we have any more questions coming in.
Here. So I see one question is about for multifamily buildings, the the property owner is responsible for making sure that all of the units submit that application and submit that income information.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Now, before we leave you today, I do want to remind you of some of DOE's energy assistance programs. The COVID-19 pandemic has really affected everyone and many communities harder than others. And we wanted to remind you that DOE is here to assist. So I just wanted to quickly remind you of some ongoing programs that we have. So we have the LIHEAP, the Low Income Home Energy Assistance Program, and that is a benefit anywhere between $250 to $1,800. Oh, I'm sorry. I think we might be receiving some more questions. Stay with me. Okay.
So
I'm sorry. It's hard for me to see these questions. Yeah. Thank you.
Another question we got is how we're defining household for income purposes. So if a relative lives with other family members but does not contribute to the household, and that includes the child under the age of 6, does their income get included in the calculation of household income? Let me. Where this is something I would need to double check and get back to you on. Let me see, because if I recall correctly, this program defines income as the household is based on how you file your taxes. However, that may depend based on whether or not you file taxes at all. So let's see, other questions. For renters, who is the applicant, the tenant or the landlord? And we covered that. Properties without outstanding life, safety, or health violations are excluded. So does that mean no, I think that that got a little mixed up. If properties have outstanding health violations, they would be excluded. If your property has no violations, you are eligible. And let me see. Does the homeowner select the contractor or does DOE? So the way that works is that like Lawanda and Jennifer mentioned, it goes to a subgrantee, so a nonprofit or community action agency that helps facilitate the process. And for selecting the contractor, they would get the input of the homeowner too, but it would, if there are some things that, how do I word this? I guess the best way to word this would be that for the process to keep going, the homeowner would have to give their approval on that contractor's work and on that contractor's scope of work. Let's see. How will the lead risk assessors or inspectors be selected? For that part, that contractor would be assigned by the subgrantee. And as a homeowner slowly doing lead abatement, is there money to help with the process? Let's see. So as a homeowner, you would need to apply, but just like with everything else we mentioned, you would need to fit the eligibility criteria. There are other programs that may be able to help with that process. Let me get back to you on that. Let's see. You have a vacant unit in a multi-unit building. Can you get funding for that vacant unit? Yes, you can. If you have vacant units, you can still get funding, but you would need to make sure to advertise your unit and give priority to families with children under 6 or pregnant women. There are a bit more details to that, but if you reach out to us and email, we can give you more information. Let me see. In a multi-family property, is there a minimum percentage of units that must have a child under 6, or is it that only the units with children under 6 will be addressed? So for a multi-family property, there isn't a minimum percentage and all units will be addressed, but you will have to sign an agreement saying that that property will give priority to children under 6 or pregnant women for 3 years. Let me see. One question looks like it got cut off. It only says, can a previous, that may be continued later on. Let me see. Let's see. One outreach specialist is asking if this presentation can be shared. Jennifer, I think you said that the recording of this video would be posted. Could you confirm that for me?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to be working with our communications team to post this webinar on our YouTube page, and we'll also post it on our lead reduction program webpage as well.
Okay, thank you. And let's see, explain what a life safety violation is. So for this program, a notice of lead-based paint hazards would not be a disqualifying violation, no. But it would definitely be something we would want you to bring to our attention so we could see if there is any previously documented information. Let's see. Lead in the water in DC. So I think that Jennifer already put in the link for the Department of Energy and Environment's lead pipe replacement program. That's for if your pipe was made, if the pipe itself was made of lead, and which is definitely something we want to address. And you can look up the LPRAP program on our website and also search your home's address on DC Water's lead map. Again, I can't recall the exact address off the top of my head, but it should be easily Googleable.
Yeah, and I believe you can also access that through our website as well, Cara.
Yes, thank you. And let me see. I think I addressed the questions, and there are a few about specific applications that I'll reach back out to if, let me see. if you signed up for this, we will have your email on file and we can email you back.
Yes.
Can and will. Mhm.
All right, wonderful. Well, Cara, thank you so much for stopping me. I didn't see all these questions, so thank you everyone for all these wonderful questions. Very helpful. So thank you, Cara. Okay, I don't want to jump the gun again. Any more questions before we wrap up? And if, of course, our team is always available, post webinar. Okay, so I just wanted to provide a quick reminder of some of our programs I had mentioned, like HEAP, the Low Income Home Energy Assistance Program. During the COVID-19 pandemic, since the utilities are not shutting off any of the electricity at this time, or Washington Gas, if a household has already applied for LIHEAP and they notice that their electricity or gas bill has gotten above $250, you may also be eligible to participate in our emergency relief program, and that benefit can either match the size of your bill or up to $600. Also want to provide a quick reminder on the utility discount program, and that's when we work with the utility companies for a certain percentage reduction on that monthly bill. We also have our solar for all program, which transfers solar benefits directly to your PEPCO account, and that reduction is about $500 annually. One of my favorite programs, our Weatherization Assistance Program, and that's when we come into your household, conduct an energy audit, and depending on what items are in your home, we could update HVAC, appliances, insulation, to make sure that your home is tighter, energy efficient, as well as healthier. I also want to mention our Clean Rivers Impervious Area Charge Relief Program, which can provide assistance for your DC water bill. And as Cara as well as Luanda mentioned, we also have the Lead Pipe Replacement Assistance Program. And as they mentioned, this is assistance for partial replacement. So thank you so much, everyone, for taking the time. I'll let you get back to your day.
I'm sorry, I just saw one last question because it was there are so many different places to put in, okay, but it was that for a single family home rented to a tenant with a voucher, since she isn't the property owner, we would need to make sure to be in contact with you as well, but she would need to apply and use her income, yes.
Okay, great. Thank you, Cara. And with that, I think we are good to close. So thank you again for taking the time, and I hope everyone stays safe and has a good rest of your day. So thank you so much.